Hi everyone, happy Valentine's Day. I am here with my almost 11-month-old Luca, right? Say hi. Can you wave hi? Hi. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Susie Leachy. I'm a certified health coach specializing in women's health, and in particular, I help women to naturally balance their fertility and balance their hormones. So I mentioned in my video last week that things have been a little bit crazy around here, right, Luca? We're getting ready to move and we're in the process of buying a house. So I usually try to do my videos every Wednesday, but this is why I don't always have him on here, but we're gonna do our best. So anyway, things have been a little hectic, so I don't know if I'll be able to be on every week, but I did promise that I would try to get on when possible and that I would have my little guy on with me. So here he is. This video is going to be pretty casual, just off the cuff chatting. So hope you guys don't mind that. So my little one right now is eating. He basically just eats what we eat. He prefers finger food, so he's just eating some leftover taco meat because we had tacos yesterday with some beans. So we used a nice grass-fed ground beef and some pinto beans in there. He's got some avocado, he's got broccoli, he's got oatmeal, which is a favorite around here, which I'm going to also talk about a little bit more when I address a question that came up in my group. But yeah, he's got a good variety. I think we're going to give him some berries because berries are one of his favorites, but probably his absolute favorite food. So hopefully that'll keep him entertained and quiet, right? There's a nice smile. He does like being on video, but all right, we're gonna try to cut him up some strawberries. You know, what's great about babies and what I think about a lot when he's eating is that babies are naturally such intuitive eaters and they really know how much they need and when they're hungry, when they're full, and what nutrients they need. I noticed that some days, he'll eat way more than other days, and some days, yeah, some days he only wants, mostly one particular food, and then other days he'll just refuse it entirely. So it's pretty interesting to see, and I think we can learn a lot from babies and getting more in touch with our own hunger and fullness cues and what we're really craving that day. So I did have one question that came up today in my private Facebook group, Hormone Balancing, Fertility, and Beyond, that I wanted to chat about. So Sam asked a really good question. She said, I'd love to know your best recommendations for foods to eat while nursing that keep your supply up, but also help you lose the baby weight. So I'm sure that this is a question that many other women have had when they're getting ready to have a baby or after they have a baby and they're breastfeeding. I know I definitely had this question, and I'm still breastfeeding Luca over here. So I also try to keep my supply up, even though it's pretty well established at this point, but I'm still mindful of those foods, right? Yes. He likes to have a lot of attention, as you can see. Right, babe? How are your strawberries, Luca? Are they yummy? You love berries, right? Yum. Yum. Yes. By the way, he has a full smock and bib underneath because babies eating it's messy, especially when they're feeding themselves. So anyway, I do want to address this question about best foods for nursing moms, but just so you know, these foods are also foods that are just really healthy in general, and a lot of them are great for fertility as well. So if you're watching and you're not breastfeeding, still try to incorporate some of these foods into your diet because they're just healthy in general. So all right, foods that help increase breast milk production are actually called galactagogues, and there are several of them. One of the, I guess, before we, yes, before we get into it, I do want to say in terms of, losing weight while breastfeeding, Some women lose weight really easily while breastfeeding because it burns a ton of calories. It burns an average of about 500 to 1,000 calories a day. So it's very, very demanding on your energy. But for some women, they actually will hold on to some extra weight while breastfeeding, maybe around 5 to 10 pounds. And that's perfectly natural and okay. And there are a couple of reasons for that. What's wrong, sweetheart? What's up? Do you need something? Do you have too much strawberry in your mouth? Why don't you chew, babe? Can you chew, sweetie? So there are a couple reasons for that. The first is that, like I said, it requires a lot of energy for your body to produce breast milk. And so for some women, their bodies like to have the extra energy reserves in their body to be able to produce that milk, to be comfortable being able to produce enough milk for their baby, especially, in case energy and food becomes scarce at some point. Their bodies want to have those extra reserves to make sure that they are still able to keep themselves alive while feeding their baby. So that's perfectly natural and okay. But in general, I do think that eating some of these foods and eating a healthy diet in general will help your body get back into balance and, wherever that is for you. And the other reason, you want some of these? You like the ground beef, right? The other reason why some women hold on to weight while they're breastfeeding is just because of the hormones. So when you're... Okay, sweetheart. Would you like some more berries? So the hormone prolactin is responsible for producing breast milk, prolactation, right? And when that hormone is high, that allows your body to produce breast milk, but it also suppresses your other sex hormones like estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. And yes, women have testosterone. It is important for women to have it. And, I know in women with PCOS, for example, sometimes testosterone can be too high, but in general, when you're breastfeeding, the prolactin suppresses these other hormones, and testosterone in particular helps you build and maintain muscle mass. So if your testosterone is really low, you can store fat more easily and your body is less likely to put on and maintain muscle mass. So it's kind of a combination of things why some women maybe don't lose as much weight as they're expecting breastfeeding, but that's totally okay. Don't worry about it. Just, do the best you can to nourish yourself, and your body will come into balance on its own. I guess another factor too would be sleep deprivation. It's sometimes really hard to lose weight when you're sleep deprived. Again, hormones and all of that. But anyway, let's chat about some foods that are good for breast milk supply. Don't take this off, sweetie. Don't take it off, babe. Can you leave this on for now? Okay, the first, which again I said I would mention again, something that Luca loves to eat and I love to eat as well. He's eating a big chunk of avocado right now. Is oatmeal. So other whole grains are also good for breast milk production, but oatmeal in particular is well known to boost milk supply. It's high in iron and good whole grain carbohydrates, so that can be important for breast milk production. It can be really helpful. Another food is brewer's yeast. So if you've ever seen lactation cookies or lactation balls or lactation muffins, any of those kind of things, one of the ingredients is usually brewer's yeast. And it's a really powerful milk supply booster. So that's why it's included in some of these products or recipes that are specifically for lactation. It's very high in protein, iron, and B vitamins. So it's really healthy, in general, but great for breast milk supply. Would you like more berries, Luca? All right, I'm gonna cut up another strawberry for him. And another great food for breast milk supply would be green veggies. So things like broccoli, spinach, kale. Those all support lactation. They're high in vitamins A and C, iron, and they have some protein as well. So again, just, super healthy foods in general, but really great for breastfeeding. Nuts and seeds are also considered galactagogues. In particular, from what I've seen, almonds are great. Seeds, kind of all seeds, but in particular flax seeds and sesame seeds, they're all considered galactagogues and can help with boosting your milk supply. And again, they're really nutrient dense foods to just include in your diet overall. What else? Let me see what other ones I was going to talk about. So beans are also really good, or legumes. So chickpeas, lentils, peanuts and peanut butter, all that stuff is also really good for breast milk production. There are also certain herbs that you can take that are good for breast milk production. Fenugreek is probably one of the most popular. Nettle, thistle, and ginger are also good. Right, Luca? So, for instance, there are specific teas that have these herbs in them that are helpful for boosting your breast milk supply. So I used one. There are a couple. And I did talk about this when I did my video on teas for fertility, pregnancy, and breastfeeding. But one, yes, babe. One is mother's milk tea, and one is the mother's milk tea is from traditional medicinals, I believe, and then there's one by Yogi, which I used to use a lot, and I think it's called women's nursing support tea or something like that. Again, I have those in my video on where I talked about the different teas for fertility, pregnancy, and breastfeeding. But yeah, so those are the biggies, I would say. What I love to do is, and I did this a lot, especially in the early days of breastfeeding, but I make these lactation energy bites. If you want the recipe, just let me know, but they have a lot of these galactagogues in them. So they have oatmeal, they have nut butter, they have flaxseed, they have brewer's yeast. So really, kind of a mixture of all these different galactagogues that I talked about. And they're also just a really delicious and healthy snack. So definitely recommend those. And also while you're breastfeeding, just keep in mind, again, it's breastfeeding is very demanding on your energy. It takes a lot of calories to produce breast milk. So you do want to make sure that you're just eating enough in general. And of course, all those nutrient dense foods to not only support your breast milk production, but also to support you and to help you heal postpartum, to help you balance your hormones, all of that. So it is important to eat a nutrient dense diet during that time. And what else was I going to say about that? I lost my train of thought. As you can probably imagine, because I have a little guy yelling in the background, right? But yeah, so it requires a lot of energy, a lot of calories. Oh, I know what I was also going to say. Some of these galactagogues are higher in carbohydrates, like the oatmeal. Okay, Luca. I'm probably gonna have to cut this video a tad short because he's getting a little crazy. But what I was gonna say basically was that some of these foods are higher in carbohydrates, like the oatmeal, like the legumes. But I mean personally, I don't eat super high carb. I tend to go more on the higher fat side of things because I have PCOS, which is associated with insulin resistance. So I do better with more fats in my diet as opposed to a higher carbohydrate diet. However, when you're nursing, I definitely recommend getting sufficient carbohydrates, even if you tend to go a little bit lower carb, just because your energy requirements are so much higher. And you'll notice that you kind of don't have enough energy if you go too low carb while you're nursing. And I also know this a bit from experience because I had some issues during breastfeeding. I had a lot of different breastfeeding issues, but the worst one was that I had persistent thrush, and that is basically yeast, but on your breast or nipples, basically. But instead of, it's not itchy like you would think of as a yeast infection. Sorry if this is TMI, but instead it's just super, super painful. And the reason that I got it was because Luca's latch was very poor in the beginning, and so I had a lot of cracks, and that kind of, the cracks in my nipples combined with the obviously being a little bit run down and sleep deprived was a perfect breeding ground for, infection and fungus to grow, unfortunately. And that continued, just dropped his cup, it continued for a long time. And if you know anything about yeast, it feeds on sugar. So I tried to, not consume too much sugar and, okay, we'll just leave that for now, sugar and carbohydrates in my diet to kind of combat the thrush. But when I did that, my energy just tanked. I mean, I was already tired, but I noticed that when I went too low carb, I was just exhausted. So I would definitely recommend keeping in some of those more nutrient dense carbohydrates, like the oatmeal and other whole grains, rice, potatoes, what else? Beans, legumes, chickpeas, all of that stuff. So I think we'll wrap up, right, Luca? I think we'll wrap up here because this little guy is getting antsy. He wants to get out and play, I think. But I've mentioned on previous calls, I'm currently offering 30-minute fertility boost calls. So if anyone is trying to conceive or just looking to boost your fertility in preparation for trying to conceive down the line, and you want to get your hormones balanced and get as healthy as possible, feel free to schedule one of those calls with me. I'd be happy to chat with you for a half an hour, and we can see if it's a good fit for us to work together. And I'll post a link to sign up for one of those calls in the comments. I'll also post a link to my private Facebook group. You want to clap? Clap, clap, clap. Clap, Luca. Clap, clap, clap. Bazzi, bazzi le manine. Che viene papà. 1, 2, 3. Can you do it? Sorry, guys. So I'll also post a link to sign up for my private Facebook group if you're not part of that already. It's called Hormone Balancing, Fertility, and Beyond. And I also post all the videos that I do every week on my YouTube channel under Susie Lychee. Good job clapping, Luca. And I will post a link to that as well. Please subscribe to my channel, like, comment, etc. on my videos. It helps me reach more people. So thank you so much for joining me today. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. I'd be happy to address your questions or a topic that you want to chat about in an upcoming video. So with that, enjoy the rest of your day and your Valentine's Day. And Luca and I are going to get cleaned up and maybe do a little playing, right? All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.